call, are we not waiting? We're waiting still? I'm sorry. My mistake? Historic Review Commission meeting this April 6th, 2026. It's a regular meeting, and I'd like to just have a roll call first. Would be Dave Brennan.
Here.
Melinda Myers is not here. Terrence, are you? Terrence is here? Via the internet. Ah. Yes?
Sorry? Yes.
Terrence Mitchell is here on Zoom. But yes? Craig Pepper is here, thank you. Mr. Chuck Scalise.
Here.
First meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
I am here.
I've arrived.
Aaron Snippert is here. Jackie is on vacation. And Matthew is here. So this is a pretty full house. So if we could have if everybody had a chance to read the minutes, let's have an approval of the minutes as they were sent to you. Any corrections or comments, concerns, criticism? Then I move to accept the minutes as provided.
I'll second.
Now, is someone taking minutes? You? Oh. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it passes. All opposed? So new business. We want to welcome Commissioner Scalise here and Commissioner Mitchell, Tori Williams, the Coordinator of Community Affairs. So thank you so much, Tori, for being here.
Tori, would you like to come to the podium and
You
talk a
want
little
to-
bit about your work?
Hi, everybody. My name is Tori Williams. I am the Coordinator of Community Affairs, as you mentioned before. Part of my role has been to update the authorities, boards, and commissions procedures that we have for the city. So started with taking a look at the application, making sure that we're asking thoughtful questions to help us make sure that we have a diverse representation on our board. So we're working diligently to appoint folks from different wards and different representations, different walks of life to each of our boards while following the guidelines of each of those authorities, boards, and commissions as in our city ordinances. We've also developed a training and onboarding process that we'll be sharing with all of the city liaisons. So all of the authorities and boards and commissions, for the most part, are associated with the city staff. So you have Matthew in your instance. So we've worked with Matthew and Aaron and all of our other city staff to make sure that they have the tools that they need to support you all in the work that you are doing. So we really appreciate Matthew and the work that you all are doing to make sure that these meetings can occur. So thank you for being here. Another quick thing that we did was just standardize the agenda process. So we wanted to make sure that all of our agendas were pretty much the same format, so our citizens, regardless of what authority, board, or commission that they were looking for, knew what to expect them when they went on to eCode or onto the city website to be able to see what happened in those meetings. So you'll see that the agendas and the minutes will now match for each one of those authorities, board, and commission, and then they'll be uploaded onto eCode later for a historic record for us. Any questions about that process or anything I'm missing, Matthew?
So Tori, you take the minutes from
No.
now on? No?
No, Matthew will take the minutes.
Matthew's taking them for now. All right.
For now, yeah.
Because I
And-
know that that's another part of the process.
Yeah, so it's just to really standardize those agendas and minutes so that they will all kind of look the same and feel the same for our citizens to have easy, readable use of those documents. So the city staff liaison will take those and sometimes might be delegated if needed, but Matthew will take care of those from now on. And then we're also working to make sure that this room was set up for a press conference a couple of hours ago, so obviously it doesn't look how you normally have it, but we'll have the city staff liaison that supports your meetings be able to sit here and actually be a part of your meetings instead of having their back to these meetings. So stay tuned for that. It'll just be one of these tables and then they'll join from a laptop instead of this desktop version over here. So a little bit easier for you all to interact with the folks that are supporting your meetings.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any questions
any
for Tori?
questions? Cool, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. Please read the agendas and minutes that are sent out in advance to make sure that you're prepared for these meetings. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a hearing and action for historic nominations. And our first is the former South Erie Iron Works Company building at 1919 Peach Street. And would you like to give the presentation? Or Matthew's giving the presentation?
Commissioners, I don't like the look of that. That's all right, we'll leave it as is. We received a nomination for the South Erie Iron Works Company building, which is located at 1919 Peach Street. I'll take you through parts of the application that you received earlier last week. So this is the building. Where we're at in the process is this is the first time this nomination is being considered by a commission. So today, your responsibility is to determine whether or not there is reasonable cause for this application to move forward. You also have the option, so if you choose, to make a recommendation to City Council on the nomination itself. We have scheduled this nomination to appear before the Planning Commission, which will happen later this month on the 21st. So the location of this building is at 1919 Peach Street. On the map, you can see the purple marker. It is located in the Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network. They are also the applicant and the owner of this building. You'll see on this map, it's an aerial. The boundary of the resource is boxed in red. So, and again, you'll see the storefront. A few of these photos are architectural details. So you can see there's a window on the second floor on the left-hand side. Also a detail of the metal cornice that lines the entire building. Significant because this has its origins as an iron foundry. Also of interest is that from the exterior of the building, you can see those, the very base, there are two kind of metal, looks like metal bricks. The picture on the right-hand side is actually from the interior. So those are the bases of metal columns that still exist that have been infilled over time. All right, so this is an absolutely wonderful nomination because it is very rich in history. It is, without question, Erie's oldest foundry. It was originally founded as the Eagle Foundry in 1858. It was renamed the South Erie Iron Works, which was a reaction to the incorporation of South Erie as a political entity. It no longer exists. It has been integrated into the city through annexation, which happened in 1870. In 1871, the original storefront was constructed. And when you look at this building, it actually has two different addresses, very similar to many other, I think, nominations that we've seen in the past. 1919, which was on Wright, was constructed first, and that was in 1871. The addition, which is 1917, was constructed in 1891. So this building grew over time. In 1891, an architect was hired not only to put on the addition to this building, but also to ensure that there was visual uniformity throughout. And a lot of the Italianate design features that we have with us today are a product of that architect's work from 1891. Unfortunately, the ironworks closed in 1910, and then the building went through a series of different owners, all of them commercially centered. So in 1911, it became the home of the Ariel Burial Case Company. So the foundry was then turned into a manufacturing for cabinetry and for coffins. There was also space that was dedicated in 1919 Peach Street for fabric. And so you'll see there's an advertisement later on. They were producing not only the wooden boxes, but then also all the lining and also dressmaking that came along with being a burial cast company. There was also a storefront component to this as well. And while the building was under the South Erie Iron Works, 1919 and 1917 were storefronts. People were able to walk in, buy a range. That changed. People now able to walk in, buy a casket. It continued to change over its history. In 1922, the Ariel Burial Case Company moved out, and then it was converted into Watson Motor Company, so it became an automotive. In 1926, there was a massive fire that gutted all of the buildings. The fire was kept under control. The structural elements of the building were not impacted, but the Watson Motor Company went out of business. There was a tremendous amount of news reports at the time because within the building there was a gas tanker. And the concern was, because this blaze was out of control, that it would have ignited the gas tanker and then exploded and destroyed city blocks. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Through the 1930s to 2025, the building went through a series of different owners, a roofing company, a furniture manufacturer, electric service company. For a while, it also served as the headquarters for the Central Labor Union, as well as the 313th Machine Gun Battalion, and finally a printing company, until it was bought by the current owners in December 2025. So here are a smattering of advertisements you'll see. Because this building had a commercial function, and because it was throughout its entire history a storefront, there were, as you go through newspaper advertisements, a lot of different advertisements for all of these different businesses. The casket that I mentioned earlier is kind of central and then bottom. On the left, there's an advertisement for the roofing company, the World War I vets, and the Machine Gun Battalion is center. You'll see also Watson Motor Company, the printers, and also the furniture manufacturers as well. This building is significant because of criterion C, which is that it embodies the distinctive characteristics of a type, period, or method of construction, or that represent the work of a master, or possess high artistic values, or represent a significant and distinguishable entity whose components may lack individual distinction. It has a very rich history. The uniting theme through all of the different ownerships is that this served as a commercial storefront. And the Italianate architecture that was originally constructed in 1871 and then added to in 1891 have been the consistent presence on the primary facade of the building. And that exactly is the criterion C that this speaks to. In terms of integrity, it does retain integrity of location, design, materials, and workmanship. What you'll see on right on this slide are the various plat maps over time that were included in the nomination. So you can see how the building evolved. The resources bounded in each of these in blue. And so the map on left is from 1888, and you can see that it was a brick building, which is the pink color, and a wooden structure, and that wooden structure was then in the map in 1900 replaced by two brick structures that we have today. Now, there's a bit of a peculiarity here because although the building
I'm going to check in for able to move to the legion and the joint link callback 412-417-69.
Sorry about that. So because this is a storefront, it relates back to one of the Secretary of Interior's guidelines, which says, because it is so important to a merchant's livelihood that merchandise and the commercial establishment itself appear up to date to attract customers, storefronts are likely to have undergone more frequent remodeling over the years than some other kinds of historic buildings. So there's a tremendous amount of literature out within the Park Service that talks about the first floor of a building changing over time. And that change is meant to attract customers. And so what we have and how this manifests in the building that's before us today is that the second and third floor in cornice work all very much look like they're from the late 19th century. The first floor, however, very clearly looks like it's from a more modern era, probably the 1940s, 1950s. And what's very likely to have occurred, even though we don't have a tremendous amount of visual representation of how the storefront changed over time, there are snippets and articles and advertisements that talk about how the storefront was being changed. So likely, the storefront that we have today on the first floor is a product of the whichever commercial industry was decided to make that particular change. And so that even though it might not look like it was all from the 1900s, it still very much relates back to the building's purpose as a commercial storefront. Oh no. I need to phone a friend to continue forward.
Do the owners have a use potentially for the other floors?
Mm-hmm. And they're with us today, and I think that they're with us today, and I think we'd like
wonderful.
to say a couple words. We're nearly through our presentation. What I will point your attention to is the architectural survey that was done by the city in 2025. It specifically identified this building as something that would be potentially eligible for the National Register, and it was under criterion C. And that is an example of Italianate commercial storefront architecture. Their criterion C directly maps back to our criterion C. Next slide, please. There we are. That takes us to determination of reasonable cause. I have put forward suggested language for you, but I would like to pause and see if there's any questions that I can ask, or that any of you would like to ask. I also know that the owners of the building are here in the audience with us today, would likely like to say a few words as well.
Well, thank you.
Hmm?
Any questions for Matthew?
And this is for a single building, not the neighborhood?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Even though that there are two addresses to this building, 1919 encompasses this lot, and that the tax parcel and the resource line are one and the same. So it is exclusively for 1919 Peach Street. Any other questions?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Of course.
Would we like to invite Heather up to speak? Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This is, Matthew didn't say that I was going to speak, so I'm not shy about it, but I will, just a little snapshot about the Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network. We've been working in...
Oh, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, say your name and
Oh,
your
yes,
title
Heather
and your
Casper,
organization.
Executive Director with Sisters of St. Joseph Neighborhood Network.
Thank you.
We've been working in Little Italy for 26 years now, and 10 years ago we spread right across the city. And so our footprint now serves from 12th Street to 26th Street, from Cranberry to the East Bayfront Parkway. So it's a very large swath of the city. A strategic planner that we hired a couple of years ago identified for us the amazing amount of work that we've done in Little Italy and the relatively small amount of work that we've been able to do so far in our East Side neighborhoods, and that's partly because of time. But they identified for us a need to consolidate our two offices, and that for efficiency and for cost savings. We have an office that we've outgrown on West 18th Street. We have an office that we've outgrown on East 26th Street. And so they helped us to find the geographic center of our footprint, which is technically right at 21st and Peach. So we have for years been looking for a building in that area where we could consolidate our two offices. We did a study to say that currently we're using about 7,000 square feet as a business. We wanted to be able to have space to grow. So this building is 14,000 square feet, but it has, once the stairways code, once it's brought up to code for use, it'll have about 10 or 11,000 square feet of usable space for the business. And so that will give us the 7,000 that we're using now, that we've outgrown, and room to grow. And it will centralize our location too, which will help us to better serve the full footprint. So we bought this building because of those criteria, but the fact that it was going to be, that it's been in use consistently, that it's been a neighborhood anchor, that we could save it from vacancy. I mean, that all serves as our mission as well in the neighborhoods to revitalize and to make sure that a building of this use would not become vacant. And so it answers the call on so many levels for us. The fact that there's such rich history, which we had no idea, is just really exciting to us to be able to carry that forward and to take care of it and to keep that space in use, just as it has been since it was built. Thank
And
you.
you would be closing down your other two locations or renting them out to someone else?
Correct. There's a bike program in our East 26th Street building that will take over the whole building. It needs the whole building. It needs us out of there. So it will stay.
Right.
And then we will we'll rent out where we are in 18th Street. Any other questions?
Any questions for Heather?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Director. Now, we can vote on this, correct? Okay, thank you. So we should have a motion if we're going to vote in favor of this being placed on the City of Erie Historic Register. But somebody else should make the motion.
I would be delighted to suggest that.
So would you make a motion?
Yes, I
Matthew has
move
the-
that we make it a historic, under the commission's program.
So if we can say, I move that we determine that there is a reasonable cause that the former South Erie Iron Works Company building meets the qualifications to become a City of Erie historic landmark as it conveys significance under criterion C and holds significant historic integrity. Then we can, is there a second to that?
I'll be pleased to make that second.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor, please?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Great.
Well, thank you so
Now,
much.
it's a bit of a peculiarity in the process. Now that you've found reasonable cause, you also have the availability or the option to make a recommendation to council. And so.
Yes, those are two different things, yes.
Yes, indeed. So wonderful that you found reasonable cause. If you so choose, you're also welcome to make a recommendation to City Council and carry the nomination on its way.
So, Councilman, or Commissioner Brennan, would you please read that as a
Yeah,
possible?
I'll move to provide a positive recommendation to City Council that the former South Erie Iron Works Company building will be listed on the City of Erie's Register of Historic Places as it conveys historic significance through criterion C and maintains sufficient historic integrity.
And all those in favor? Oh, let's have a second. I'm so
I'll be
sorry.
pleased to make that second.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. So this will then go to City Council, so that motion carries. Thank you. And let's see if Weber Electric can change the front of their building now.
Hopefully there'll be some inspiration,
They'll
happening
be
here.
inspired
Yes.
by your good works.
Before we move on, I did want to mention one other historical peculiarity that came to light in researching this project. The building immediately next door to the south, the Rook,
Right.
was the foundry. So if you're looking at this as a complex, what you move forward to designate really the storefront and the commercial center of it. But the iron foundry, where they produced all the iron and then made all the caskets and then made mattresses, was inside the Rook. It has I mean, the facade has changed.
Right.
But
Dramatically.
under all of it, it's still the original facade, which connects back to this ironwork history, which is absolutely fantastic to consider that this building, which looks nothing like what it originally would have, still has a thread of that integrity underneath it all.
And I think that was what the Gunner Battalion was there also. I think they have the photograph of the actual battalion in their archives at the Rook. Let's continue along. So now we have passed all that. Let's have the Pennsylvania Downtown Conference session, a discussion on that. I think that's you again, Matthew.
It is. We've entered into the very kind of long-winded briefing parts of this. So very good news. We were notified that our conference proposal was accepted for the Pennsylvania Downtown Conference. They'll be here in Erie, I believe at the end of June and early July. The session proposal we submitted was a joint session. So we'll be presenting with the Pennsylvania State Historic Preservation Office, and it's centered around our historic preservation plan. So it's again, I know that I think about a year or two, we received an award from the Pennsylvania Planning Association on the plan itself, and this is an opportunity to showcase what a modern historic preservation plan looks like for all the other municipalities that will be joining us here in Erie at the end of June. So,
And that's based on our citywide survey, is that correct?
a citywide survey is actually something that grew out of the plan.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely. So it was a bit of a feather in our cap. And I know that there's a couple other presentations as well. I think the mayor is presenting on Bayfront, I think, as part of that session. So if any of you are interested, you're welcome to attend.
Is this just how long, or is this?
The session is, I think, 45 minutes long.
Okay.
And so we'll have an opportunity to present what it was like putting the plan together, the kind of process, what's in the plan, and then ask or have a Q&A session with attendees.
And who's likely to attend this conference?
We have a lot of different people from municipalities all over Pennsylvania. So we'll have a lot of folks that I think are usually coming from out east, and all of the different kind of boroughs and townships and cities all across the state. So it's particularly interesting because we are one of, I believe, almost 60 certified local governments. And so out of all of the different municipalities, there are people who also have historic preservation commissions, and would very much like to hear about our process of creating a plan, because I think a lot of different cities and municipalities at this point are going through the process of recreating a plan or updating their own plans. So we're kind of at the forefront, which is...
I think we've become the model of...
So who invites them?
So it's a conference that's open to all, and it's held annually, but it is a Pennsylvania Downtown Conference, and so the folks that
So
operate
I guess they have a mailing list of communities that make inquiry with them, that type of thing?
Yes. Anyone who operates a Main Street program or an Elm Street program, they have a pretty wide distribution.
I don't think it's ever been done in Erie, is that correct? Or has it been here? I mean, I don't remember this
No,
ever
I
happening in
think
Erie.
there's been conventions here before, because they move throughout the state.
Yes.
They have, David?
I don't know
So
how many years
does
it's
it- and
been.
does
It's been
it go
gotta
like
be a
all
while.
day?
I don't remember it at all.
It's not just a 45-minute thing,
No,
right?
our session is only 45
Oh,
minutes. but
okay, all right.
It will be over the course
So
of,
it's
I
like
think,
they have all kinds of speakers and, okay.
I think 3.5 days long.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I submitted a proposal also, with Danielle in our office, for another architect in our office. We're doing a presentation on adaptive reuse. So we're also giving a presentation, so I'm excited to be involved in that presentation also, so.
It's wonderful.
Well, cool.
Exciting, great. Anything else on that topic?
That's it. I'll make sure that all of you
So
have
what, are
that
we
information.
helping sponsor it, or what is our role in this?
Nope, our role is just to show up and present and talk about all the work that was
Okay.
done. And all of you as commissioners are welcome to attend as well. I'll make sure you get all the,
And will they tour various things that we're doing around the city? Or,
I believe so.
okay. Because there's some exciting things happening.
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Moving to the next item, but
Yeah, so the
still,
the NAPC.
yes, still very much staying on topic for conferences. We submitted a conference proposal to the National Association of Preservation Commissions. Those were the folks that came in September for training. So when we had all those different sessions over the course of an entire day, they have an annual conference as well that's exclusively for municipalities across the country that have some kind of architectural review board or historic review commission. We submitted a proposal about our ordinance. And again, it's a relatively new ordinance that also went through a pretty substantial overhaul within this past year. And so we, in partnership with the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission, put together a presentation and an application, and we're accepted. And so that's in Minneapolis, also over the course of the summer. I think it's the end of July. And we were partnered with, I think it was Frederick County, Maryland, and also it was a smaller municipality outside of Philadelphia as well. And so because each of these different municipalities are going through the process of either updating their preservation ordinance or for us creating and updating, we're working on a joint presentation. The session will be about an hour and a half long, but again, and I think to our chair's point, we were called upon because we're very much being seen as a model. And all of the work that went into the ordinance and revising the ordinance is unique within the field. So it's yet another feather in our cap that this program, this commission, are all being recognized, in this case, on the national stage.
I think that's great. I think you and your staff should be commended for this because it's wonderful that Erie is brought forward as an example of positive growth, and I think we are doing that. I think sometimes it gets short shrift as to what we're actually doing, and I think there's a lot of good things happening. So it's great to be recognized. We also have the training session coming up, the commissioner training.
We do, and tying on to NAPC, this past year, and I know a few of you commissioners are joining us for the first time, every year we are required to do 4 hours of training, and in the past we have leaned on the National Association of Preservation Commissions to come in and put on an all-day session, which they did in September. This year we'd like to invite the State Historic Preservation Office to come and talk to us about various topics. And so we were looking at dates in September and wanted to get a sense of when might work for the commission. Ideally, we wouldn't be setting aside an entire day, probably a half day, either an afternoon on Friday or the morning on Monday, whatever might work for your schedules. You certainly don't have to give us a date at this exact moment. I will send an email follow-up to all of you to see when works best for your calendars, and we'll come to a consensus.
So this would be what, the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission telling us what they think is important in that world, or, I mean, what
I think in the past we were able to select some of the topics that we as a commission felt that we should study. They gave us a roster of options.
Oh, okay.
And in this case, it'll be a
Well,
bit of
like
both.
we saw that last time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we'll have they'll come out to Erie and talk to us a little bit about what the State Historic Preservation Office is working on, what their new initiatives are, different sources of funding and that sort of thing. And at that point, we'll also likely be able to meet the new kind of Western community coordinator. Bill Callahan, as I think many of you knew, has retired, and they're on the hunt for someone to fill his role. So by later on this year, we should have a new community representative, and hopefully will be an opportunity for all of you to meet them. So I'll send out some topics, and as well as a couple prospective dates. If you can get back to me with what works for your schedules, then I'll put it in for September.
Were you thinking around the same time as last year, like in September sometime?
Yes.
Okay.
The 4th and the 25th are best for me, but those are both Fridays.
So noted.
But I'm flexible.
Okay. That takes us, I think, to our next item of business, the Pennsylvania State Historic Marker applications. This is something that we have not done in the past, and I wanted to brief all of you on. This past Wednesday was the pre-application deadline for state historic markers. And through the partnerships that we have grown over the course of the past year, folks that have landmarked their buildings then came back to us and said they wanted our assistance in putting forward an application for state historic markers. And so we provided that assistance to put in 3 different marker applications, and then also to a bit of a Nancy Drew mystery, to find a missing marker. So for the new markers, one was a partnership with the Erie Cemetery Association for Emma Hay. Her work as the first superintendent, first woman superintendent of a major American cemetery. The folks at Erie Arts and Culture also approached us and putting forward a pre-application for Ruth Newton, who was a prominent illustrator and designer here in Erie. And then the city also put in a marker for the Erie people, for the Native American tribe that existed in this region. The missing marker is that we discovered that there used to be a marker in front of the old Customs House, now the Art Museum. It disappeared sometime in the mid-'70s, and we reported it missing to the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission, who said they didn't have a record of it. So we were able to provide all of the photographic evidence and written evidence that we found.
There's a postcard.
Are they
with that
going to
on
get
there.
us a new one?
They actually invited us to apply for a new one.
Oh, okay.
Because there is no record, and because they weren't able to find anything in their books, they invited us to put it in an application so that we can collaboratively work to establish what that marker might look like.
I remember there being a postcard of that marker. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And because it was there on State Street forever. I mean,
Yep.
It wasn't.
I believe the county in the 1970s put together a very kind of thick program of all of these different historical sites. There's a lot of photo documentation that we gleaned from that. So it is interesting because the state has a process by which you're able to identify a marker as missing, and they'll come out and replace it. With this one, it was a bit of an anomaly because they didn't have any record. So again, because the Art Museum came to us
I was gonna
2
say,
years ago. And
They're on our roster.
yes, and landmarked their building. We had an open dialogue with them and approached them about this marker, and they were very happy to move forward with replacement.
Great.
So-
Well, that's great.
Just for my own clarification, you're speaking of the blue and gold Pennsylvania
Yes.
markers? Because we're seeing white ones that are popping up on like West 6th Street. Those are privately done, or?
Yes, the white ones are privately done and by the County Historical Association at Hagan History Center.
And the red ones are local historical societies? The one in Edinburgh and there's one in Union City.
I'm not familiar with red ones,
Okay.
but if you have an image of one, I would very much like to see it.
Okay.
One of the things that we have set for ourselves as this program is to try to get a better understanding of
Yeah.
all the different markers that exist within the city and tie them back to our GIS system.
There was a marker that even talked about the basin, the canal basin, and I don't know where that is anymore, but there was one on State Street that marked the termination of the canal basin.
That marker's now on 6th Street.
Okay.
They do tend to move as well. And so it's one of the kind of other items that this program is going to take care of. But I'll keep you in the loop as these applications progress. The final application deadline is June 1st. And the commissioners then meet, I believe, over the course of the summer, and then announce in early fall who's been awarded these markers. So
They're hard to get.
they are very difficult to get. You, as a threshold, need to prove that the subject of the marker either has state, national, or international significance. So it's a process.
Well, thank you so much. I think we have item 5 on our agenda, which is old business, talking about the Erie Cemetery nomination and the Erie Manticore nomination.
Yes, the cemetery, the nomination process is concluded. It's
Right.
made it through council. Council unanimously approved the legislation, and the zoning map has been changed. So it is officially in the books. The Manticore and the Labor Temple, both nominations are before City Council, looking for a hearing date. So once the council and the clerks have an opportunity to pinpoint a date, we'll have a public hearing for both, and they'll continue on the process as well.
Thank you. Oh, that was the Labor Temple. I know they had an event at the Labor Temple last weekend, and it looked pretty well attended. So the Erie Public Schools Partnership, is there an update on that?
Yes, we are coming close to formalizing an MOU for the commissioners that are just joining us this session. The city and the school district are partnering over the historic preservation program here. And as part of that process, we are working together at a collaborative programmatic agreement. And we have a meeting next week, and hopefully in the next month, we'll be able to have everything finalized. That agreement will need to come before all of you, and then also before City Council to be ratified. So, progress.
Is that an educational component that we're providing for the school system, or is that the students are, I think it's both, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a really good question. It's both. It's very reciprocal. So there's an opportunity for the school students to be able to be engaged with our work here. There's also an opportunity for us to assist the school district with their historic facilities. And so in this way, it's kind of widening the program and making it available to more people. But education is very much kind of foremost in all of this.
Thank you. So we now have the State Street National Register Historic District update.
Yes.
You've been busy.
I think this is probably the least substantive, but we
Right.
did, the researchers are continuing to progress on the State Street nomination. We did hold a public meeting earlier this year. It's the second one out of the 3. It was well attended, and lots of good questions that came out of the process. They're still working through the kind of initial draft, and that should be presented to us later this spring.
And the CLG project grant for the city hall.
Yes, that's, I think, the most substantive. So as hopefully all of you saw in your email box, we have the final draft of the City Hall nomination. We have officially been scheduled and will be heard before the State Historic Board at their meeting in June, I believe it's June 2nd, for their consideration. They'll make a recommendation that goes to the National Park Service. As part of this process, I sent out the nomination to all of you. If any of you have any kind of insight, feedback, suggestions, please send it to me. This will be officially on our agenda next month for public comment. It's our duty as a CLG that any National Register nominations have an opportunity for public comment. And so we'll hear this again. But the research that our consultant has done on this is all encapsulated in what was presented to you about this building. So it was, I think all of us learned quite a bit about it. I'll also say, too, that in coordination with the mayor's office and with MoCA, we are working to put together a tour that will be available to the public of this building, where we'll be able to talk about the history and the architectural features. The hope is that we will have it open kind of once a month moving forward. That public and school groups could avail themselves of. So all good things. And that will close out our CLG grant for that process.
For this process.
Yes. And the excellent news is that we're kind of hopping from one to the other.
You have the firehouse.
Yes. So this past Friday, or actually this past week, and it was announced this past Friday, the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission awarded the city a $25,000 grant to list the, well, it's for an MPDF, which is a multi-property documentation form. And what that will do is we'll hire a researcher. That researcher will work with community partners to kind of create and research the history of firefighting here in the city of Erie. And they get to create a theme. And so the theme is firefighting. And then they will also identify several different firehouses that are owned by the city that connect back to that theme. So the hope here is that in addition to be able to connect a few of those firehouses, it's something that will be available to the community as well, so that people who own former firehouses or parts of firehouse history or firefighting history here within the city would be able to connect more easily to a National Register nomination and also a city local nomination.
Because we have, the fire department maintains several. We have our museum, of course, but then there's several that have been sold, and many have been torn down.
Yes, it's a pretty expansive history. And in our application for this grant, it's really unique because firefighting and our history here within the city of Erie, I think we're exceptional because we have this cultural asset of the Firefighters Museum here as well, but our firefighting also includes the Bayfront and our shipping industry. And so that's something that really doesn't exist anywhere else in Pennsylvania. There are kind of fire departments that have a river component to it, like down in Pittsburgh, or even in Philadelphia, which is kind of birthplace of civic firefighting. But the Pennsylvania State Historical Museum Commission felt like we had an exceptional kind of thread as part of that narrative. And through this process, we'll be able to tell it. So we're anticipating the project will last probably over the course of a year. We'll issue an RFP, hopefully sometime within the next month or so, and start looking at consultants that would take on this work and ensure that they're partnering with our fire department and also with our community partners.
So Ken Burns will be here any minute.
I hope.
Thank you. So we also have item number 6 on our agenda is the Bureau of Planning and Zoning updates. So the Bureau Chief, I don't know if that's Jackie's.
She's not with us today.
I
I will
get it.
turn to our Assistant Planner.
Do we have
Cooper, is there
someone-
anything that you'd like to share on behalf of the Planning Department?
Sure, thank you. Hi, Commissioners. Cooper Moore, I'm the Assistant Planner. Just a couple of really quick updates. Our Parks Plan, Comprehensive Parks Plan, Erie Outside, we are reviewing a draft plan. So the engagement piece of that is wrapped up. We're reviewing some draft recommendations, and the draft plan, when we're done with it and some edits have been made, will be presented publicly for another round of engagement. We just closed out our tree grant from DCNR. We were able to plant over 2,200 trees across the city between us and some of our partners. And then we are putting together a plan for Arbor Day and Earth Day celebrations. So stay tuned for those at the end of this month. Thanks.
Thank you. Aaron?
The only thing I want to mention, a couple of weeks ago, I attended the ribbon cutting of the Emma Howell Apartments on Parade Street, which was a property that really went through the process between Blight, Redevelopment Authority, Land Bank, and on to the developer, which was Hands. But through that, certainly it was unfortunate they had to demolish the original structure. But I think they did it justice in the way they redeveloped the property, completed the missing tooth of the block. But they were also, they achieved in getting a historical marker there as well, which kind of memorializes, the purpose of why it's named after Emma Howell and her importance toward the Underground Railroad. So it was good to see kind of that whole project come together and be completed to revitalize Parade Street. So that's the only thing I wanted to bring up.
So you were able to actually put that building directly next door to adjacent to the building that was the building to its north?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all
Yes.
that far apart?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah,
I
there was
like
just, there was unfortunately some, as you can see, when
Oh, that
buildings are
building.
built, they're,
Yeah.
so it deteriorated a little quicker than, they had hoped, so.
I understand. But it's great that that missing tooth issue
Mm-hmm.
was a big, I don't know how you did that, but I guess, good job. Do any of the commissioners have anything that they would like to say for the good and order?
Nope.
No?
I'm good.
Well, I'd like to welcome all of our new commissioners and the commissioner on Zoom, and thank you so much for your work, Matthew. Nice job, and Spencer, nice job for all the work done in the office here at City Hall, and thank you for Heather for participating and bringing such a great piece of real estate to our attention. Thank you so much for that. Kathy, nice to see you here as well. Thank you so much. So without any further ado, I would recommend that we adjourn. I would move to adjourn the meeting. Anybody want to second that?
I'd be pleased to second that.
So we do have a suggestion and a second. So all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much for coming today.
Thank you.